Hello everyone and welcome back to some more Warhammer Warcry for the channel. Apologies for a little bit of a delay since the last one, but on the plus side there's a brand new Warband on the table today as the Iron Golems go up against the Soulblight Gravelords, who for shorthand I might just refer to as vampires for brevity's sake. And this series is available early to channel members just as a small way to say thank you to those of you who can afford and are willing to go above and beyond to support the channel. I'm really thankful for it. Thank you very much, and I hope this goes in some small part towards thanking you for it. Everyone will get to see them eventually, though it's just a little bit of early access for channel members. Anyway, let's look at both sides and we'll get things underway by randomizing ourselves a mission. So here is the Iron Golems, one of the original warbands launched when Warcry was first released, I believe, and they have some weird names, so I am going to cheat and use their cheat sheet card, which they used to come with. I think the box ones still do, but if you're just using models from like Underworlds and stuff, you don't have these, sadly. But both sides are going to be listed in their dagger, hammer, shield selections. So in the dagger for the Iron Golems, we have the boss, which is the one hoisting the weapon up there. That is the Dominar. He is joined by the Signifier, who has the standard bear or thing at the back, and then they just have one standard Iron Legionary with them there, just with their bog standard equipment. Then in the hammer, the one who's kind of whipping around the chain is the Drill Master there. Then we have an Iron Legionary with bolas and another bog standard Iron Legionary. And then finally in the shield we have the gigantic Ogre Breacher, who has hilarious hands, and then we have the, who's this guy? This guy is the Armator, which is the dwarf with the beard made of iron and the two warhammers in each hand. Very fun looking miniature. Those two are probably my favourite. They look the funnest. So that comes in, I believe it was 970 points roughly of the 1,000, and we'll see how they do today. I'm not sure what kind of matchup they have against the vampires. A large part will depend on the kind of mission we get as well, of course. But in general, they're pretty tough, they're sturdy, and the Ogre Breacher in particular does a lot of wounds. And here is the Soulblight Gravelords, again listed in Dagger, Hammer, Shield, with 2 in each, 6 models playing 8 today. We have Prince Duval from Warhammer Underworlds. In fact, his whole warband from Warhammer Underworlds is here, and he is being teamed up with a Varskir this time. Very big, dangerous Bat Ogre, essentially. 185 points on his own, but very scary. Then in the hammer we have the Vampire Lord, that's the other hero present, and he's being teamed up with Gorath the Enforcer. And then finally in the shield we have Anais Curseborn with the lavender wings back there, and we have Velis von Fane, and they come to 975 points on the dot. This video is sponsored by Noble Knight Games. Check out the video description below for an affiliate link that will take you through to their store, and it will help me out as well. Thanks. Forgot to mention again prior to going over the teams, but the roll-off for who gets to pick attacker and defender has already happened. Vampires won, and they want to be the attackers because they're fast and can get around where they need to be. With that, we're going to randomise a mission from the bog standard first version of the rulebook, but as per usual we are using the up-to-date second edition of the rulebook. So, first of all, which side are we on? We're going 1 to 3 this table, 4 to 6 this table. Okay, so it's this table, and then they're numbered 1 to 6. So it's going to be 3, which is the Comet. That's my favourite Death Clock song. Seize the riches that fall from the skies. Roll a die at the start of the second battle round before the hero phase. On a 1 to 4, place one objective on the battlefield at the centre of the corresponding table square, as shown on the map below. On a 5 or a 6, place one objective on the battlefield floor at the centre of the battlefield. The battle ends after 3 battle rounds. When the battle ends, the player that controls the objective wins the battle. Alright, so the first turn you're basically just punching each other. Second turn, potentially, a comet arrives. Or on the third turn, on a 5 or a 6. The battlefield at the centre. Oh no, sorry, on a 5 or 6 it's the centre of the battlefield. Otherwise it's in one of the quarters. And then it's just whoever controls the comet at the end. Okay, that is fine. And we're going to try and do a twist this time, just to see if it makes any difference. We've never done twists so far. Will it be remembered? I can't guarantee that. But 1 to 3, 4 to 6. Okay, so we're on the right side table, and the twist is a 5. If it involves miniatures we don't have, incidentally, we'll reroll. Foreboding location. Subtract 1 from the value of abilities to a minimum of 1 used by fighters at this battle. So for like doubles and triples that say equal the value of the die, it's 1 less. That should be relatively easy to remember. Oh, and of course we need our deployment type for the comet, which is actually before mission type. There we go. Deployment type. Same again, 1 to 3 is the page on the left, which is what we'll be going for. And it is a lot of 3s, so it's going to be Bloodbath. So, on the round at which the comet lands, the hammers are coming in on opposite ends of the table. The shields are starting 4 inches in, facing each other, and the daggers are starting 4 inches in. 6 inches in. It's a very small number. I think it's very hard to read. 6 inches in from the edges, also facing each other across the way. So we'll get that deployed, we'll show who's where, but the hammers won't be on until the comet arrives. So both sides are deployed, we'll do a little flyover to show where everyone is. Worth pointing out, when the hammers come on, also a good Death Clock song, when the hammers come on, they're coming on at the opposite side, roughly speaking, of where their other 2 battle groups are, so they're very much kind of like striking at the back. So down here, we have the shield for the Iron Golems, again just deploying within 3 of 4 inches in. Over here we have the dagger, and then the hammer coming on later. And over here, which is a bit hard to see, the Vaskir and not the Vampire Lord, what's his name, Duval, Prince Duval, are deployed within 4. And then down here we have Anais Curseborn and Von Fane within 6 of halfway up the table there as well. So all that remains to be seen now is who is going to be taking priority. They're just slugging it out in the first battle round before the comet has a chance to arrive in round 2 of 3, and also that's when the reinforcements arrive to start smacking at the flanks of the enemy. But the only way to secure victory is to get that comet, so kind of have to try and place your bets where it's going to end up. Could end up smack dab in the middle, destroying this tree. It could end up in one of the 4 table quarters, so you kind of have to have a presence everywhere, so that's something to keep in mind. But we'll be back with the dice rolled. Apologies for the glare on some of them, but after rolling out the dice, here's how things shook out. Iron Golem's got a 333, a double 5, and a single. They've used their wild die to make a 555. They have a pretty good ability on a triple that relies on the number, and yes, that twist is in place, so it will count as a 4, but that could still be pretty decent. And the vampires just rolled a double and 4 singles. They have opted to make that double into a triple though, so they will be going first as we jump into battle round 1. So Anais Curseborn got the game started for the Gravelords and just moved 6 inches as an action, and then chose to wait, which just means his second action is discarded. If you wait as a first action, you can potentially use your second as a reaction and the like, but he just chose to move into this table quadrant down here from back where he started, up next to Von Fane there. The Ogre Breacher moves pretty slow, and I think so does the Armator, so they would have to double move to get him. One thing to note about, I think both sides in their entirety, oh wait no, the Bolas have range 3. That's the longest range attack on both sides. The Bola attack of 2 units with Bolas for the Iron Golems, neither of which are on the table. Everything else on the table, I believe, is 1 inch. So it is up close and personal only that's going to matter this time around. The Iron Legionary that's part of the dagger for the Iron Golems activated and basically did the same thing. They only moved 4 though, so he moved a mighty 4 inches into the cover here and then just wasted his second action just to get into position in this table quarter, although this is the dangerous one because this is where the vampire reinforcements come on, but at least it means he's there in case that's where the comet lands. Well, it's a lot of positioning so far. Von Fane activated for the Soulblight Gravelords, moved ever so slightly, not even our full 6 inches, up into the top left corner just on the off chance that's where the comet ends up going, and that is the danger zone for the vampires because that is where the Iron Golem reinforcements are going to come on at the same time as the comet arrives. So although it's true that the Ogre Breacher and his dwarven friend, whose name I've forgotten again, Armator, would have to double move to get near Anais, they did have an option for dealing damage. Their 555 was spent with the Ogre Breacher activating on Living Battering Ram. Until the end of this fighter's activation, the next time the fighter ends a move action within 1 inch of an enemy fighter, pick a visible enemy fighter within 1 and allocate a number of damage points equal to the value of this ability. So they spent their 555, the Ogre Breacher did a double move, ended within 1 inch of Anais there, but because of the twist in play, that 5 has to come down to 4 damage, but still pretty good, and it does mean he's in good position to do a lot of damage next turn. Despite some allied blood getting spilled, the next activation for the Soulblight Gravelords was the Vaskir, which I hope I'm pronouncing correctly. He moved 6 inches and has wasted his second action because he doesn't want to move in and give the Armator a couple of free swings at him. He'd have to move in to get him now. And it means he's holding the middle, which the comet might land right smack dab there, or at least it puts him in a position where he can sort of get to the other 4 quadrants if he needs to. Well, the Armator decided to take that challenge from the Vaskir and double moved for both actions. He only moves 3 inches, he's the slowest one in the team. Most of them move 4, a couple of them move 5, but one of those, actually no, only one of them moves 5, and they're currently not on the table. So yeah, the Iron Golems are not exactly fast, they're kind of Nurgle tier slow. But either way, he double moved, and now he's locked in combat with the Vaskir. Pray for his soul. Final activation for the vampires in the first turn, because there's only 4 of them on the table, was Prince Duval, who chose to double move. He didn't fully move his 5 inches on his second movement action. He's very carefully been positioned such that the signifier cannot get within an inch of him after moving 4. So he would have to double move to lock him in combat, forcing him not to get a free attack this turn, and the Dominar won't be able to reach. But it is over to those 2 to do their moves. Might just do them simultaneously if there's no combat to happen, and then that's when the good stuff happens. The reinforcements come on and the comet arrives and everyone scrambles to get to it. 2 movements later, and that is where they ended up. The signifier hanging back outside of range 1, so it's got freedom of movement. It's not locked in combat, won't have to do a disengage action, but it's still close enough that next turn, if they get a triple again, he can spend on a unique to him buff called Stand Defiant, which increases everyone's toughness by 1 in a 6-inch bubble around him, I think it is. And the Dominar, he feels like he can take a vampire, so he is locked in combat with Prince Duval, and that is the end of the first round. So a bit of an uneventful first round of 3, with both sides just trying to stake claim in various quadrants of the battlefield. In terms of numbers, top left of the battlefield is 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6 is in the middle. We're going to roll for where the comet is going to appear now. If it is going to land in the middle, that tree is going to get destroyed by the impact, and then it becomes who controls the most. In terms of where the reinforcements can come on, it's kind of a 6-inch line down in bottom right of the table, top left of the table, so they can kind of come in within 3 of anywhere on that line. So if the comet lands top left, it would be advantageous to the Iron Golems. I would say if it lands bottom left, it would be advantageous to the Iron Golems, because their Ogre Breacher is very tough, and Anais is the only one who you can't actually quite see. Anais is the only one who took damage that round, so he's on his way to getting murdered. For the vampires, bottom right would definitely be advantageous, and I think centre would be advantageous because they've got their big hitter right there. So without further ado, where is the comet appearing? Well, that is a 5 or a 6, so the comet is smashing down right in the centre of the map. We'll come back and show that at the top of round 2. Top of round 2 before any dice are rolled, and here is where the comet has smashed down, knocking the Vaskir and the Armator slightly off centre, but something from space did just crash right next to them. So that is going to, I don't know if this is meant to be the objective marker for the comet, but that's what we're going to use to represent it. So to claim an objective, I think you have to have the most models within 2 or 3 inches. Forgotten quite the wording offhand. It will be checked obviously before the end of the game. And reinforcements have come on, so we're going to have to go shaky cam a little bit here just to show you. Here is where the vampire hammer has appeared with Gorath and the vampire lord, and then all the way over here in the top corner of the table is the Iron Golem reinforcements bearing down on Ellis von Fane right there, and 2 out of the 3 of them have bolas equipped, so they do actually have range. And now it's over to the dice rolls to see who's going to get to pick who goes first. And here's how the dice rolled out at the top of the second turn. Ignore the results on these ones in particular. These have already been rolled and moved and such because there was a draw, so a roll-off had to happen. So these dice were just singles, and they still are. But both sides had pretty similar results. Double 6 and a double 3 for the Iron Golems. Double 6, double 1s for the Soulblight Gravelords. And a double 3, double 1. And each side used a wild die to make their double 6 into a triple, meaning it was a perfect draw with 2 singles each. The roll has already happened, and the Iron Golems won the roll off, so they are getting to pick one of theirs to activate first, which might be a good thing, I don't know. There's a lot more targets on the table now, and this is where the violence starts. So the first activation for the Iron Golems was the Drill Master. She's the fast one who moves 5 inches, which she did with her first action, and that put her within range 3 to swing her bolas at the Vaskir that's currently fighting with the Armator over here. 4 dice at strength 4, 1 damage for a normal hit, 2 for a crit, going up against the toughness 4 of the Vaskir, and with that 4 and a 6 she rolled, that is a total of 3 wounds done to with 1 normal hit, 1 crit. The Vaskir doesn't really feel that particularly though, because it's got 32 wounds, so it's got a long way to go before it's starting to worry about how much damage is taken. Well, seeing that the plan was obviously get rid of the Vaskir who's kind of guarding where the comet landed, the Vaskir himself activated and decided to eat the Armator. Only taking 2 attacks, but strength 5 versus toughness 4, 3 damage for a normal hit, 6 for a crit, and it was actually incredibly consistent across both attacks, rolling a 4 and a 6 for both of them, which means 18 wounds to the poor little Armator who has 12. So he has been executed and eaten by the Vaskir's, what even is the attack called? It's like talons, I think. Yeah, by the Vaskir's bloodied talons. So he ain't activating, he is out of there. And that does mean the Vaskir is the only one currently holding the comet. Well, to complete that game, said the Ogre Breacher, activating and swinging into an Ice Curseborn, also only rolling 2 attacks per action, but he did both. And he's hitting at strength 6, which is obviously more than an ice, so he was wounding on a 3+. His basic wound does 4 damage, his crits do 8. And he managed to, in total, do, I believe it was 16. Didn't bother putting down the damage numbers, because even if he hadn't already been wounded, 16 damage would have taken an ice from healthy to dead, because that's how many he starts with. So the Ogre Breacher just smushes that vampire into a fine paste, and he is removed from the battlefield. The Soulblight Gravelords activated the Vampire Lord next, who did a 5-inch move, or 5-inch move, round here to get within 1 of this poor Iron Legionnaire there. Took swings at him with his possessed blades, 4 attacks at strength 4 versus toughness 4 though, so he needed just a 4+ to get a wound. He did, plus a crit, and he's a 2/6 for a total of 8 wounds to the Iron Legionnaire, who has... How many wounds does an Iron Legionnaire have? They have 10, so he is alive with 2 wounds remaining. Well, that Iron Legionary was pretty much left to his own devices. The other one, though, at the top left of the table, activated, moving to lock Ellis von Fane in combat. Took a swing at her. They just get 2 dice at strength 3, going up against toughness 4, so he was looking at 5s and 6s, 1/3 damage, and managed to whiff both attacks. But the important thing he did was lock her in combat, so she would have to do a disengage action to get away from him if she wants to do that without killing him first. Gorath the Enforcer moved in behind the wounded Iron Legionnaire over here, took a swing at him, 2 attacks, strength 4 against toughness 4, managed to get a crit through, which would be 6 damage, only had 2 wounds left, so this Iron Legionnaire is now a stain on the floor. So way back at the far end of the table, the Signifier activated, that's the one holding the standard bearer to the left of your screen. He moved over there with like a move and a half. He wanted to make sure he stayed within 6 inches of the Dominar, his boss in other words. The 666 was spent on Stand Defiant, which is a thing only he can do, he has the rune mark for it. Until the end of the battle round, add 1 to the toughness characteristic of all friendly fighters while they are within 6 of this fighter. Presumably that also includes himself, so that buffs himself up to toughness 5 and the Dominar up to toughness 5 to protect him against Prince Duval a little bit, while also moving towards that archway there, which would take him in towards the comet. Ellis von Fane activated for the last 2 vampires. I think I keep on calling Ellis von Fane because of Elias Curseborn. But anyway, Velis activated. She stayed where she was to try and take out the Iron Legionnaire who locked her in combat rather than going to the centre right away. The Vaskir is there blocking the way anyway, so it's not like it's in danger, this flank anyway. She attacks with paired blades, 4 attacks, twice at strength 3, 1 bog standard damage, but if she gets a crit, she does 5. Going up against toughness 4 though, so she was needing 5s just to get a normal wound anyway. She managed to get 1 crit all said and done, but a total of 8 wounds to the 10 wounds the Legionnaire has, so he did manage to stay standing. Well, in order to force Prince Duval to activate first in his confrontation with the Dominar, the last Iron Legionary activated the one with the bolas, and simply did a double move 4 inches for a total of 8 to get him down here next to the Ogre Breacher. He's going to try and slip in the other door so the Vaskir can't guard both simultaneously, so someone could get in, and if it's a draw, well, that's a draw. But they do still have one more round of killing each other, of course. Well, pride matters little when the only way to win is to hold that comet, so Prince Deval did a disengage action, moving 3 inches away from the Dominar and having to stay at least 1 inch away from any other enemies, otherwise it's not possible. Then he did a basic move action 5 inches, skirting the edge of the table, which kept him out of 1 inch of the signifier so he could move past him, and he's on the far side of his door. The door could still quite easily be blocked by the signifier in the final turn, but he's probably wanting to get in there to try and contest the comet, so he's just hedging his bets. So it is over to the Dominar as the final activation for the turn. Well, with the Dominar freed up, he did something that Deval probably should have done, which was spend their double that they had sitting on Rush to add +1 to his movement, so his movement actions became 5 inches. He moved, climbed up onto this, and then for his second move action, this didn't count as being large enough to slow him down, so he just moved 5 inches up there, and he is close to the comet. He's not quite as close as Varskier, but again, there is still one more turn, so it doesn't really matter yet. But he is now encroaching on it, and will be putting some pressure on as we go into the final turn. So here is an overview of the battlefield as we say farewell to turn 2 and go into the final round. Double checked, and to be classed as controlling an objective in Warcry, you have to be, well, alive and within 3 inches of the objective. So the Varskier currently is, oh actually, you know what, the Dominar is as well. So it's 1-1 currently on who's claiming that. There'll be a mixture between trying to kill off people holding it and just getting enough warm bodies, well, cold bodies I guess, in the vampire's case, near the comet in the final turn. And here's how the dice shook out for the third and final turn. Again, ignore the numbers actually displayed on these, that was after a roll-off. A triple 1 and 3 singles were what the Iron Golems rolled, 2 doubles were what the vampires rolled. Using a wild die though, their double became a triple, and a single 6 became a double 6 for the Iron Golems. A roll-off happened, and the vampires won the roll-off, so they will be picking who goes first and activating one of their units. So the Soulblight Gravelords activated their Varskier first, who moved to be a nuisance for the signifier getting in and getting close enough to the comet. And from where he was, they also spent their double on Onslaught, which adds 1 to his attack characteristic until the end of his activation, meaning he was swiping 3 times instead of 2 at the Dominar just to see what he could do. All he got through was a crit, but a crit does do 6 damage, which is quite significant. So that's 6 damage to the Dominar, who has 15 wounds. So he's got 9 left, very doable for the vampires. Well, using up both activations, or both actions in his activation rather, the signifier was still able to get next to the comet. He had to kind of skirt around the Varskier to not get within an inch of him, but 2 4-inch moves did put him right next to the comet, and within 6 inches of the Dominar. He spent their triple 1 to once again do Stand Defiant, to buff all their toughnesses by 1 until the end of the round. The Vampire Lord activated, trying to chip through that now toughness 5 Dominar to get rid of him. Also spent their triple for +1 movement on Rush, just one of the generic triples you can do for anyone, just to make sure he was within an inch after moving 6 instead of 5. It didn't make a blind bit of difference, the buffed toughness, because those 3 1s would have been a miss regardless, but the crit still got through for 6 more wounds, taking him to 12 of his 20, so he has 8 left. And since it's just number of bodies that matter, the Dominar activated and did a disengage this way. He was 1 inch away from the Varskier as well. Then he did a normal movement action into the corner over there and simply retreated. He's still within 3 of the comet though, and that's the important part. A disastrous result followed for the Soulblight Gravelords as they activated Velis von Fane. Her original idea was first action, swing at the Iron Legionnaire, dump at least 2 damage into him, which shouldn't have been too hard, kill him, do movement action, block here so that the Drillmaster can't get through. But unfortunately, her first attempts at swinging, needing 5s and 6s, was all 1s and 2s, so she whiffed entirely regardless of the toughness difference. So she had to use her second action to do an attack. She got 3 crits in that for 15 damage on its own, would have killed him dead from full health. But such as it is, her first action was wasted, which means she's just run out the game, sitting right there. It is a mad dash effort just to get bodies on the comet. It's also getting very hard to leave tokens in the centre. So the Drillmaster activated her path clear thanks to Velis whiffing that first attack. 5 inch, well, not quite a full 5 inch for the second move. She is the fastest one on the table for the Iron Golems, stopping herself basically right next to the comet, engaged with the Varskier, but also kind of blocking where Gorath can come in. He'll have to come round now, and he doesn't move as fast as most vampires, I think. So currently it is 3 bodies to 1, I think. The Vampire Lord, oh, we'll have to move him back a little bit because he's been knocked, but I don't think he's quite within 3 inches. From this angle, after nudging him back on top of the thing as he was, he actually just is within 3 of the token being used for the comet, so he is actually contesting it. It's still 3 versus 2, but that gives the vampires a chance. Prince Duval traipsed in from the upper entrance archway here, not able to really get in or round any further than that, but he did need to use a second movement action to get close enough to be within 3 of the comet. So he's just chilling there, engaged with the signifier, and is now making it 3 apiece for both sides. The Ogre Breacher spent their double on Rush to get +1 movement for his movement actions, giving him 5 inches instead of 4. Did a double move. I don't think he's quite within 3. Oh no, he totally is actually. Yeah, he is totally within 3. But more importantly, he's also kind of blocking the only other way Gorath could have went. He could climb over the boxes here. If he sits himself there, that would be within 3. But I don't think they can win now because of Velis messing up that attack, because she needed to block the Drillmaster from getting through. And because she hasn't done that, I don't think they have the numbers. Gorath, yeah, he could move in, hop over this scenery, he'll be within 3 if he stops there. But there's still one last Legionnaire, the one with the bolas. He can move 4 inches, sit himself there, and that gives them the numbers advantage on the comet. Double check if that's their only options, but if it is, we'll be back with that movement done, because I think the Iron Golems have got this. And it's also Velis messing up, yes, that definitely contributed. Him surviving, though, was definitely pivotal as well. There didn't seem to be any other option, so that is exactly how it went. He should actually be roughly, here-ish, but he's not quite sitting right on the crater formed by the comet smacking into the land. But it doesn't really matter, because that last Legionnaire walks in with his brethren here, and that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 versus 1, 2, 3, 4 within range. Velis messed up. The Dominar being sturdy enough to survive on 8 wounds definitely helped. And just in general, the comet landing in the middle, meaning that they could get all their bodies there. If it landed in one of the further corners, I think the vampires have the killing power that it could have been theirs, but such as it is an Iron Golem's victory. So that is going to do it for another showing of Warcry on the channel. I sincerely hope you enjoyed, and apologies for the delay since the last one. As mentioned at the top of the video, this is available early to channel members. It is one of the little perks I try and offer in return for the extra support that helps keep this possible. Thank you again to those of you who are able to spare the extra. If you're interested in Warcry, please do also consider checking out the channel sponsor, especially via the affiliated link in the description box of the video. If you buy anything via that link, I get compensated, so it's a way for you to pick up something for yourself, but also help me out at the same time. They do carry Warcry stuff. I'm waiting for them to get some of it back in stock, actually. So you can check that out if you're interested. And thank you in general just for watching, and if you do want to become a channel member, thank you for that as well. There'll be more Warcry to come in the future, and until then, thank you for watching this one, and see you next time. Ta-ta for now.